Alrighty guys, so it's been a few days since the last video. So today I'm gonna start the actual wiring process. Well, sort of. Yeah, so we have a baseline for the car. So now it's time to get down into the construction of the harness, the configuration and whatnot. This will span a few days, so the clips you're about to see will probably be over the next couple of days, right? So let's get into that. I'll show you exactly what I do step by step. So hopefully you can replicate it yourself. On my computer screen, the behind the scenes, the stuff you don't see when most folks have to wire up an ECU. To my knowledge, Link is the only ECU company which makes a standalone ECU for the Toyota Altezza, right? So I searched around the internet, I got a couple wiring diagrams for the car. So I got wire colors, pin location and whatnot. I also visited the Link site and they have a pretty good document. Where is it? Yeah. So it gives you a good start. But you still have to do a lot of work yourself. A lot of the elbow grease has to be put in. So I have a clipboard here, which I started making my notes on. Wire location, pin location, color on the factory ECU, and I have another one. Hold on. I'm just trying to formulate another table here where I have the description of the Speeduino pins. Well, those I use anyways. The colors I'm going to use on the harness, and the factory side, the pin location, the pin name, the color, etc., etc. So I need to populate that. I probably won't. But I would like to populate it so at least I can make a spreadsheet for someone else down the road. Yeah, so now that that is done, I'll go ahead and start making the harness. First up, I'm going to need to make the V4UC. So it will be something like this when I'm done. Well, I think I went over this in the last video. Something like this. Ribbon cable will be going in here, going to the Speeduino ECU, and then the harness will be going there in the small holes, about 7 feet long, and that will be going to the existing factory harness. So I'll get started on soldering that right now. So the V4UC is all soldered up. So that's out of the way. On the floor here, I have all my wires. I have more notes on this clipboard here. So right now I'm just going to be cutting wires to length. Some loom, whatnot. Gonna make the wire longer than you need it, and then loom it up, then solder it to the V4UC, and then later on put it into the car, pin it into the stock harness. Then, well, we'll get to that point, right? So next up, I'm just gonna be making the harness. It's still going to be universal at that point. Alrighty guys, so I have all the wires that I need cut to length. I think I have it cut at 8 feet. The harness is going to be a bit shorter than that, but it's better to have more than you need and cut the excess than to have a harness that's too short. Right, so next up, we're going to label, and then we're going to fit everything into the loom. Since it'll be going through the firewall, it'll be very difficult to do afterwards, and pick up with some more progress. Quick tip on the V4UC boards. If you're not going to be doubling the wire for the sake of just saving wire of simplicity, I recommend you simply just run some solder between pin 1 and 4, 1 and 40, 2 and 39, 3 and 4, and 5 and 6. These are the injector pins by default. On the V0.4, the pins are doubled for extra current carrying. And yeah, so sorry, lost my train of thought. So since we're going to be, the ribbon cable will be on the outside here, the wire going in here can carry enough current on just one of the holes. So instead of running 2 wires, you simply just join them. Okay, so it's been a little while and I pretty much have the harness all buttoned up. See, we have here this gray wire we have dangling. This will be for the wideband input to the ECU, so it'll be inside of the car. We have some braided loom. You can see here, extend it. Let's see if I can get you guys a better view. Yeah, so the harness is about 8 feet long. Yep, so we have some braided loom. I thought I had some heat shrink, but that would fit over there. I don't, so I use some electrical tape. I'll be removing this and I'll be heat shrinking here and up to there. Yes, so this end will be going to the engine bay where the stock ECU now resides, and I'm just going to be tapping into some of the signals, and the only thing I'll be taking full control of is the fuel and the spark. So yeah, first time using this type of loom. I usually use the plastic type, and I must say I'm truly impressed with the finished product. And of course we have the V4 UC, so this will just be going to the Speeduino V0.4. Quick tip guys, if you're making a harness and you're not sure where the future will reside, what the future will okay, if you're making a harness and you're not sure what would be in the future of your project, it's best to leave a couple extra wires in, just in case you need to add something to the harness. You won't have to pull out the entire harness to run some new wires. So in my case, I run 3 wires, a tan, a black, and an orange. They don't really have any specific use right now, but should I need to control or add anything to the harness, I have 3 extra wires. You don't need to add 3, you can add 4, you can add 5, you can add as many as you feel like. Yes, so next step, I'm gonna need to do some work on the car to prep it for the harness, and then we'll pick up from there. So we're prepping for the harness installation. So the ECU for these guys is located here. You have 3 10mm nuts holding it in place. I think that is what we need to do is over here have some connectors, right? Basically 4-pin connectors. When they connected together, they look something like this. And I have one of them already pre-bent, so they come like this. So I bent it up like that. And basically I'm just going to be cutting the 4 coil wires, the triggers for the coils and the fuel injectors, and then we're going to be putting these in place. So this will go to the end, which would originally come from the ECU. This end would go to the harness end. So if we want to rivet the car back to factory, we simply plug it in. I will have another one coming from the Speeduino harness, so it's just a matter of unplugging the factory ECU's connection to it and then connecting the Speeduino end. Simple as that. Okay, and I have the injectors all done. So this is how the car would remain if it were to stay in its factory configuration. But when I'm ready for this is the control wires from the factory ECU. So when I'm ready, I'll simply be, see if you can do this with one hand. Come on. Sound really tight. Hold on a second. And finished product, we have, which one? Ugh. Oh yeah, this one is for the injectors and this one is for the coils. So when I'm ready, simply disconnect this, the ECU end, and the Speeduino end, which will be coming in here, will have connectors similar to this. So I'll just plug in. If you want to go back to the factory ECU, it's just a matter of unplugging the Speeduino harness and plugging this back, and everything else remains the same. Okay, so it's a few days later. We have the harness run through the firewall. You can see here, hope you guys can get that shot. Runs alongside here. You can see, goes here and ends up here. This is the harness I run. I'm gonna be cutting a slit into here, so this will pretty much go in there like so. And my harness, I already grouped them in bunches, so TPS, coolant, and intake air on one bunch, and we have the injectors on another, coils on another, and so on and so forth. This is going to go in here, and I'm going to make my terminations here. And the harness, hope you guys can see this. This is it. Runs under the dashboard and goes out through the firewall somewhere in there. Right, so the last step is just do my terminations on the harness, and should be just about ready to start. Okay, so the rain hasn't been played nice at all for the last couple of days, so I improvised. Whipped out the umbrella, and I just about buttoned up the wiring. Right, these are the two connections for the Speeduino harness for the injectors and coils. So when I'm ready, I'll simply be unplugging the stock ECU from here and here from the injectors, and then I'm going to be doing the coils and injectors. So I'll be taking it away from the stock ECU by unplugging it here and then plugging it here to the Speeduino side. The wiring is pretty much buttoned up. I just need to, I haven't soldered these, the joints which, all the wires which I patched into, because I just need to confirm that they all work before I solder them. So yeah, solder them, and then probably just going to knead it up a bit, a couple tie straps. I need to trim the lid here so that this goes flush in there. I may drill a hole there so I can tie strap this to the base, and it will pretty much look something like this when all said and done, but a bit neater. Right, so in a nutshell, that's just about all the wiring I need to do. Guys, so we're getting ready to start up. So I have the Speeduino board out of the enclosure here, and connector here, ribbon cable, power and ground wires. Everything is just temporary for now. Vacuum line, you can see, running through the firewall as well. Tuner studio open, and I already went ahead and I created a base map off camera. For the most part, I have most of my settings. I'm going off just the crank trigger now. It's a 36-2. What else? For the most part, made a rough VE table, scaled it to something I think which is fine. I have a pretty conservative SPAC table, and for the most part everything is set. I went ahead and calibrated my throttle position sensor. See, I need to put the key on. So my key is on. Alright, I hit that button sound. Okay, so calibrate. So close throttle, hit get current. Right, and then we go wide open throttle, hit get current again. So now our TPS is, okay, let's do that again. Alrighty, so our TPS is calibrated. Okay, so right now I still have the ECU, the factory ECU controlling spark and fuel. All I pretty much have there is just the patch with the air intake temperature, the coolant temperature, the throttle position, and RPM feeding to Speeduino. So the car should start since it's on its factory ECU, and we should get a reading for RPM here. Okay, so let's try this. Alrighty, so we have about 1300 RPM here, and if we look here, we have about 1300 RPM. So we have RPM sync with we have an RPM sync from the factory ECU to Speeduino. Right, so the next step would be to have Speeduino control the fuel and spark and try to start. So So I connected the Speeduino to the injectors alone. Ignition is still done by the factory ECU. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. It's amazing. So we have the Speeduino running the fuel injectors. Now I'm not sure about fuel ratios since I don't have the wideband hooked up. And next step will be the spark. Wow. Sounds a bit lean. Then again, I'm not sure. Following day, we have it running on spark and fuel, controlled by the Speeduino. Wideband is not hooked up. The temperature is off a bit. That's about 10 degrees off. I need to remove the, I think they call it the bias resistor on the ECUs to give it the true reading, but I'll take care of that in a bit. Yeah, so we have it running on wasted spark. Wasted spark. And what else? Yeah, pretty much. Wasted spark. And semi-sequential. We're using the 36-2 crank trigger wheel. We're not using the home, but it runs just fine. 1.3 milliseconds pulse width. Let's go over to the engine bay. Okay, so as you see, the factory ECU is disconnected for both fuel and spark. I have a couple jumper wires there which I need to clean up, and for the most part it's done. We have a wideband to install, an AEM, and all that's left is tuning. Alright, so the 3S diesel live running both fuel and spark controlled by the standalone ECU. Idle control and fuel pump and whatnot is taken care of by the stock ECU. Okay guys, so I'm gonna wrap up this video. So the Altezza is running. We have the Speeduino ECU controlling both fuel and spark. It's on tune for now, but it idles and revs up pretty good. Next step, like I said, the owner bought an AEM wideband. I need to install that. And then pretty much just do some road tuning. That'll be in a separate video. Currently the timing has been synced. What else? I know some of you may be wondering why I went with wasted spark for the fuel, for the spark, and not sequential. Reason being is that Toyota did something. A lot of aftermarket ECU owners struggle to install any ECU on a Toyota. Reason being that Toyota usually shares the ground on the cam and the crank signal, the VR sensors. So what happens is that you get a lot of noise. The common thing is to just use the crank trigger alone and skip the cam. So I went ahead and I did that. I may experiment with using the cam and then try sequential, but I highly doubt it will work because it almost never works on any ECU. To my knowledge, Link just uses the crank as well. Based on the trigger angle, they advise to use it with their base map. And what I get, it's pretty close. So yeah, so for now it's on wasted spark, runs just fine. So what else? So I may experiment with that in a future video, but for now it's gonna stay wasted spark and semi-sequential for the fuel. I'm gonna get that tune iron out, and then in a couple days, I believe, or soon, I'm not sure, but exactly when, but the turbo will go on. So then I'll be retuning it after I do the NA map. So for now, car runs. This video may be a bit long, but hope you guys made it to the end. Like always, like, subscribe, share, comment down below. Catch you guys in the next one. Till then, stay safe.